Hey, welcome everybody to the Unshakable Habits podcast. I am your host, Stephen Box, and today I have an episode that I'm really excited to bring to you because my guest today talks a lot about self-esteem. And if you've listened to any episodes of the podcast, you know I am really big on mindset and emotional and mental health, and those are two areas that self esteem really has an impact. I really believe that so often we hold ourselves back in life because we don't believe in ourselves. We allow other things to factor into that. So I'm really excited for you to hear what my guest has to say. And I'm going to come back and introduce you to her here in just a second.
The right habits put you in control of your health, relationships, mindset, and more. But most people lack the tools to stick with those habits long enough to see results. That is about to change. Welcome to the Unshakable Habits Podcast with your host, habit change specialist and speaker, Stephen Box. Join us each week as experts share their stories, experiences, and insights, and give you the tools to build unshakable habits so you can live life on your terms. It's time to take your habits from unsustainable to unshakable.
And welcome back to the show. So as you can see, I am joined today by my guest, Clarissa Burt, who is the author of the Self-Esteem Regime and a regime. Sorry,
That's okay.
Totally messing it up already.
That's okay. It's all good.
See, this is why people have to have self-esteem, because we all make mistakes, right? So I did that totally on purpose to make a point, by the way.
There you go. And you picked it up beautifully. You just kept right on sailing through. That's the ticket right there.
Yes. So you also are the president and CEO of In the Limelight Media. You've also had a career as a model, an actress. You've just done all kind of stuff. So I have to ask the first question, obviously off the bat, what made you become so passionate about self-esteem?
Well, it was one of those kind of things that I think I learned very early on. I knew that I watched my mother, obviously, as most little girls do. And Mom was a beautiful lady. She's beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. But, I never thought she was. And she didn't want her picture taken. Don't take my picture. Don't take my picture. I look horrible in pictures. And she always thought she was overweight, and she wasn't. She was gorgeous. So then my grandmother was of the same ilk. So she was, I've got to lose weight. And she was gorgeous. My grandmother was absolutely beautiful, So I got to lose weight. And as I would go through high school and whatever else, I would see girls that were kind of in, doing things that were not necessarily in, like living. I didn't think they were, in my opinion, they weren't living in their truth. They were living in toxic relationships, or they were drinking a lot or drugging a lot. And I know that those are the years where people are discovering themselves. But I just thought, wow, I don't know. It just didn't feel like living in integrity and in truth. Then I got the really great fortune to work with some of the most beautiful women in the world in the modeling industry. Yeah. And we really were considered, I would say, the top 1% back in the day. I was on every major runway in the world. I was on 250 magazine covers. I mean, I had a really lucky career. And a lot of the girls there, too, I could see that they were really struggling with their esteem and self-esteem in some way, shape, or form. So there was a common denominator, right, Stephen? There's a common denominator, and I went, it's got to be self-esteem. And I noticed that the same thing would happen with guys. So nobody gets off this planet exempt. Everybody's got to go through it. In order to get through it, you've got to know it and learn it. We don't necessarily get that kind of, a lot of us didn't get that kind of education in our at home. Yeah. So the natal tribe we thank them for what they did impart on us, but may not be our truth. And some of it may not have really helped our self-esteem a whole lot. And then as we go forward, it could be our faith that we may have a few, different questions about, that may not land in truth for us. And we go to educative, we go to our, onward universities and colleges, and we have peer groups. And so we have to learn how to navigate all of that, all while still trying to figure out who we are. Yeah. It's all about what you know, who you know, in the sense that who you listen to,
Yeah.
When, what are you listening to? Where are you getting your information? How are you compiling that? And how are you making it better serve you? If you were told your entire life that you were nothing, you're going to spend the rest of your life trying to prove that you are something.
Yeah.
So it's a real, people say, silly, self-esteem. Who cares?
Yeah.
It's everything you are. It's everything you do. It's everything you think. It's every relationship you have. It's the relationship you have with yourself. It's what you think. It's self-perception. It's so vast and so deep that I really do, especially now when we are all living in such a grand amount of uncertainty. To live in the personal growth aisle at Barnes & Noble, which is where, thank God, I can tell you my book is, and I'm so proud. But, live in places, read.
Yes.
I have voracious appetite. I'm sure you do too, as do your listeners, and that is the voracious appetite to learn.
Yep.
And for me, that means being a better person tomorrow than I am today. Could be the littlest thing, could be something grandiose. But I want to be better tomorrow at something than I was today.
Yeah. And, it's funny that you mentioned this idea of, how self-esteem affects pretty much everybody, because I can literally sit here and think back on interviews that I've done. And I think this is our 28th, 29th episode, something like that in total. And every single one of those episodes, as we're going back through people's stories, there's a part of their life where someone told them something that made them doubt themselves, or maybe they had certain expectations put on them that they didn't feel they could live up to. And it always circled back to their self-esteem that later put them into a little box and made them incapable of being themselves and fully realizing their potential.
They didn't have the tools at the time. They didn't have the tools and the resources. All they knew is what they were being told, or all they knew is that the expectations upon them were put so high that they were destined to fail because they didn't have the tools to say, "Hey, Dad, guess what?" Or, "Hey, Mom, hold on a sec." It's not what you know when you're 8 or 9 or 10. Now, maybe today a little bit more than in my day, but it's one of those kinds of things that you take in what the environment is offering, what it's teaching, what it's expecting of you. And so that's where it all starts, is where you start to think you are not good enough. And when you take an "I'm not good enough" message in your head, in your heart, and in your soul out into the world, it doesn't reflect back well. You're not going to get good things or great things back when you're thinking that way about yourself. So this is why books like mine, and again, mine is called also, it's a regime for a reason. Regime means an organized way of doing things. And this is an action plan. There's a whole plan in here for becoming the confident person you were meant to be before everything else kind of, seeped in and took over. One of the other things that I love to say, Stephen, is that you'll hear someone say, "You are enough. We are enough. Everybody's enough, and I'm enough." Well, if you look up enough, it means only as much as is required. Look up enough. Only as much as is required. Now, Stephen, I don't know about you. I know about me. But I will tell you, I know that I am so much more than enough. And I've worked very hard at it, but I'm so much more than enough. I'm sure you are so much more than enough, as much as is required. Well, required by whom? Number one, and how can you quantify or qualify required? Right. You can't. So, we're all on this planet, this rock together, and everybody's got their own path that they have to follow. And we're all at different places, different levels, different degree. It's all different. And no two people are going to have the same self-esteem path. It just doesn't work that way. Yeah. So as I say, life ebbs and flows, and it will trigger us, and something's going to happen inevitably. That's life, right? If you have what I call stand strong in your stead, because your self-esteem tools are so honed and so sharp, that when the typhoon, the hurricane, the storm comes through, you may lose a leaf, you may even lose a branch. but you're
Yeah.
not going to be uprooted and transported away with the storm, right?
Yeah.
Because you know how to now navigate the negativity, the bullying, the all the stuff that's thrown at us on a daily basis. I'll tell you what really did happen for me is once this book was published 6 months ago, the universe went, oh, really? Okay. You want to talk about, so you would start teaching and preaching about how the importance of self. Great. Fantastic. And it threw at me, Stephen, boom, 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 boom. I mean, one after the other. Yep. My love life, my work life, my friendships, my family. I mean, holy smoly. These last 6 months have been probably some of the most difficult of my life, but I've been able to handle them differently because of the tools that I have in the shed. And make no mistake, the work in the book it's not going to be easy. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to say you're going to sail through it and you're going to do the work. You're going to take a deeper dive. And you're going to work on some things you didn't even know were there.
Yeah.
So get ready for that. You're going to work on your values. If I say to you, Stephen, what are your top 3 values? Would you know how to wrinkle them off right away? You might have to think about them. And I asked you to write 8. Give me your 8 top values. Okay, that's one. How about your boundaries? Oh, everybody thinks that creating a boundary means you got to get upset, you got to get angry, and you got to yell at people. No. Boundaries are all, I beg you to create your boundaries with ease, joy, and glory. Make it really simple. Teach people how you want to be treated. Show people how you want to be treated. And if it hurts, it isn't love.
Yeah.
I'm not saying, you'll have a little tiff or whatever. Yeah, that. But if it hurts, if something is toxic, like something is making you feel less than your highest potential, your fullest self, walk. And don't walk, run quickly.
Yeah. Yes. I love so much what you just pointed out there, because there's a lot of different things we can look at with that. I mean, first of all, you talk about, what are your priorities? What are your values, right? And that's one of the things I always teach is with my framework is everything starts with a vision, right? And visions aren't about, oh, I want to have a nice house and a nice car and all that. I mean, that can be a part of your vision.
Well, that's called buying your self-esteem. That's where you buy your self-esteem.
Right.
That's not what we're talking about, right?
Yeah, vision is about the behaviors, the person you want to become. And that ties back into your values, what's actually important to you. And so like you hit on that, it's like, if you don't know what your values are, if you don't know what's important to you, then what becomes important to you is what everybody else tells you is important. You have to understand your own values.
Your list of values act as your blueprint of life. How you, again, will be treated, won't be treated. How will you treat others is really, really important. I often say, gosh, I think that manners, just common courtesy manners, kind of went by the wayside for a lot of people, and some of the, when I say self-esteem 101, a lot for me means doing something good for somebody else. And it doesn't have to be broad stroke. It doesn't have to be grandiose. No. It can be something as simple as hold that elevator door open for somebody, struggling to get there, or, let somebody in traffic, for God's sake. You're all going to get there sooner or later, just let the guy, is he being a jerk? Let him be a jerk, but let him in. What's it costing you? Help the lady down the stairs with the baby carriage. Get up on public transportation for the elderly and a pregnant woman. I mean, the littlest things, with a nice smile, say, please, no, I insist, take my seat. Is just a self-esteem 101, felt good about myself, did the right thing, because what was the right thing to do, Stephen, right? And they feel really good about it too. It's like, wow, I mean, there really is some good out here in the world. I want to be the good out there in the world. That's what, and I don't always hit the mark. I mean, look, I'm human, and stuff can affect me really as well. I mean, I'm not perfect, but I really do want, and I catch myself. That's another thing. Catch yourself, sort of like catch yourself, and you can fix anything, and don't be afraid to say, I'm sorry if you've hurt somebody. Don't be, there's no shame in an apology. No shame at all in an apology. Here's another one I love. I love this, Stephen, and then I swear I'll let you talk, but I get really passionate about this. And I don't know if you can tell or not, but don't betray your conscience.
Yeah.
Who are you when no one else is in the room?
Yeah.
How are you when no one else is in the room?
Yep.
Are you up? Are you down? Are you depressed? Are you anxious? Are you like, where is it that you know? Because I mean, the pit of your stomach's always going to tell you how you are. Your emotions
Yep.
are a really great indicator, a measure, if you will, of
Yeah.
how we are and how you doing. Everybody's great. I'm doing great. I'm fabulous. Are you really?
Yeah.
I'm not saying you have to say, oh, I'm depressed and I'm so anxious. That's not what I'm getting at. But
Right.
you know who you are when no one else is in the room and what you've got to work on.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, and again, it goes back to those concepts you talked about, right? It goes back to understanding your values, your priorities. It goes back to setting boundaries, because boundaries, as you were kind of pointing out there, is not actually about getting angry and all that stuff. Setting boundaries is so that you don't have to get angry, so that you don't have to raise your voice, so you don't have to act a fool, right? That's the whole point of setting boundaries, is it teaches other people how to respect you. And then you talk about a concept like love, and a lot of people think like, oh, love hurts, and relationship. No, that's not what love is. No one's saying that love is going to always be perfect and there's not going to be bad times, but love should be lifting you up, not tearing you down.
Yes, that is absolutely right.
And
That
that's
is
where people
absolutely right.
struggle.
Yeah, people do struggle with love and relationships, and we try to impose ourselves and the way we want them to be on them. We're trying to impose our way of life on someone else, and that's a tough one. Love doesn't mean that at all. Love means accepting someone for who they are, and therein lies the conundrum, because it's a tough go. When you say I love you, it's a commitment. I mean, you don't run around. That's not an easy. You don't throw that out easily. I love you. I love you really means, again, I want to work with you and work through your issues with you, and I want you to please help me do the same. And there's reciprocity for sure, and it's always concession. You want to concede many times as well. It doesn't mean losing yourselves in the relationship. Right, as you say, it means being able to support one another in all and in everything.
Yeah, that support factor is so huge. And when you talked about this concept earlier of who are you when no one is around, what is it that you want? It actually reminded me of something that I actually just saw yesterday. It was an interview with Steven Tyler from Aerosmith. And he was talking about when he was a judge on Idol. And he said that he really struggled with this idea of telling somebody that they can't sing, even if they couldn't, even if they were absolutely horrible. He said he couldn't bring himself to do it, because he's like, what if I tell some 16-year-old girl that she is horrible at singing and she should never sing?
Yeah.
And in 5 years, 10 years down the road, she's sitting there with her newborn baby and she wants to sing them a song, but she can't do it because I told her that she sucks at singing. And it's like, when you think, like thinking about the impact you might have on somebody and being aware that that's exactly what you're talking about, right?
Well, words are, words cut. Words can kill. It can kill the spirit. And words obviously said in a very negative way, which is exactly what we're talking about. I think that the most important things, at least for me, if you were to talk about values, are to live in honesty, honesty with you, honesty with me. And sometimes it's not going to be a pleasant conversation for you when I'm being honest.
Yeah,
I'm going to be kind about it, but I'm also going to be honest. And I've been told my whole life, wow, you really are frank. Well, why should we beat around the bush? Why should I be telling you a non-truth? The second one is integrity. God, I love the word integrity. I just think that it is, it's really what and again, as imperfect as I am, it's one of the things that I do strive for. So when I say I want to be a better person tomorrow than I am today, I want to live in even more integrity tomorrow than I do today. How can I make that happen? And the last one that I absolutely love is honor. I want to be a woman of honor. And I think if all of us were to to say honesty, integrity, and honor. It doesn't necessarily mean we're joining the military or the Boy Scouts. It means we really want to be the best that we can possibly be at all times. We fall into old patterns, Stephen, and sometimes they're just really unpleasant ones that are very easily changed when you go through the work, like much of the work that's done here in the self-esteem regime. We've got all kinds of tools and resources, and we do mirror work. We do therapies, different therapies that you will do at home and by yourself. But the boundary work, the journaling, all the things that you have so pushed down. And again, I'm going to tell you, a lot of this is not going to be pleasant. Some of it could be even painful, but the light at the end of the tunnel when you do the work is so bright. It's so brilliant. It's so bold and beautiful that you'd be silly not to do the work at your own time. Take your own time, do a chapter at a time. And then when you're done and you're feeling really good, put it down for a while. Pick it up in 6 months or a year. Because this is the kind of book that I call a manual. It's a mission and it's a movement for me. I want to see everyone around the world living in happy, healthy self-esteem.
Yeah, I was checking out some of the book, and one of the things that I picked up on, kind of like what you just alluded to there, was it's really designed to help somebody not just go through this one time, right? Because there's almost this recognition in there that, and I say almost, but I think you probably actually have this recognition as you're putting it together, that someone may go through and have tremendous growth the first time, and they may be good. Right. But a lot of people, they're going to take very small steps. They're going to hit that first little bit of discomfort, and they might grow like this much, and then that's it. That's all they grow.
That is something to be celebrated.
Yeah. So now they go back through it again, and then they grow that much more, and again, and then they grow that much more, and then that's how they keep growing. So these are things that they can repeat over and over.
There are 3 choices in life that we say: you either give up, you give in, or you give it all you got.
Yeah.
And this is where you give it all you got. Even if you do, you read the book and the changes are minuscule. It's a change and it's growth, and you're moving in the right direction. Give yourself a pat on the back. That right there should be giving you a whole bunch of self-esteem, because you read the book, you did the work, and you know what to expect next time. Bigger and better growth next time you read it, and the next time again. I also love people to leave people with, the other word that I like to use frequently is loyalty. I think that loyalty is a huge word in self-esteem. Being loyal to ourselves, being loyal to our truth, and being loyal to others is another boost, into your own self-esteem. Loyalty is when you have somebody's back behind their back.
Yeah.
And loyalty is when somebody has my back behind my back. Those are the kinds of relationships you may only create a handful of them in a lifetime. Remembering that some people come in for a season, some people come in for a reason, and some people come in for a lifetime. But these are the kind of relationships that you want to be able to nurture for a lifetime, and to call your support system. Good, bad, or indifferent. The people are going to love you no matter what you do, no matter who you are, no matter what you've done. The people that you can call at 3:00 in the morning and that will have you back. These are the kind of relationships and support systems that we should all really be trying to create. And again, the last chapter in my book is reciprocity, which means you'll be doing the exact same thing for them.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's interesting because a lot of the things you just touched on are very much in alignment with what I teach, because I teach people about deep health. And so we have our physical health, we have our mental health, our spiritual health, our emotional health, our relationships, our environment. There's all these different areas of health.
Right.
And when you're thinking about self-esteem, if you have low self-esteem, what ends up happening a lot of times is obviously your own emotional and mental health are going to be lower, but that also means you're going to probably more likely to put negativity out into your environment, which makes your relationships toxic. You're also going to physically project that out. So
you're basically calling them in. Every thought that you emit is energy. That energy will come back as the same exact thought at that vibrational level.
Yep.
People always talk about fear. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, so by just taking those same thoughts and reversing them and starting to work through things like what you have in the book to improve your self-esteem, it's not just going to improve your self-esteem. It's literally going to improve every aspect of your life.
Yeah.
It's going to regulate.
Yes, I absolutely do. And here's the other one. People say, oh, but what if I get it wrong? What if I don't do it right? What if I fail? Well, here's an acronym that I love. I'll throw this one out too. FAIL is first attempt in learning.
Yeah.
It's your first attempt in learning. Oh, please continue to fail. Because every time you do, you're that much closer to success. And I often say, the first car that came off the assembly line wasn't a perfect car. The first light bulb that was, created wasn't an imperfect light bulb. You're different, the growth, for different iterations as as Einstein or Tesla, whomever you want to vote for there, and Ford moved forward within their industries. Look at the Ford today as opposed to 100 years ago. It's a whole different thing. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying too, is, just don't worry about failing. Just, you're going to do it. We all do it. Yep. You're not alone. You're not in the failure club. We're all in it.
Yep.
So, and you don't even have to pay dues really to get in there. You just have to pay some dues to get out. And it's what you are due to learn. Right.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah. And the thing about that is, I think so often our fear of failure is really about more external fear, right? It's, oh, what are they going to say? Or what are they going to think about me? Or people are going to laugh at me or whatever. And it's like, who are these people and who cares?
Yeah, exactly. Who are these people who cares? And that's probably like self-esteem 102. Don't worry about what everybody else is thinking. It's none of your business what other people think of you. Absolutely none.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what they think. Doesn't matter if you fit in. A lot of the popular kids in school today are not necessarily the kick-ass go-getters once they get out of school. Not all of them.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. It's not even that important. Just let everybody be who they are. Be who you are and don't worry. And I say this to the kids because the CDC came out with a report a couple of weeks ago, and it says 44% of our high school and college age students, and even younger, are either depressed, anxious, thinking about committing suicide, or have committed suicide. And that's an alarming number.
It is.
That's really a scary number. We are not, again, as I said before, we're living in very uncertain times. COVID certainly changed the world. And there's a lot of uncertainty and instability. And that's why I say, get into the personal help section, read, get on, do documentaries. I get on to, there are a million of these, YouTube, motivational, inspirational, just hashtag anything. And a plethora of information is going to come up. It's going to help everything look and feel brighter. Don't believe everything you're seeing. Don't believe everything you're hearing. Turn off the news. Get away from your devices. Get out into the good old sunshine. Take a dog for a walk. I don't know. Go swimming. Go to the park. Go do something else. Go start a campfire and toast marshmallows. Get back into nature. Get away from the devices. You promise you can get away from your devices if you really want to, and you should.
Yeah, I think, sometimes we become so reliant on certain things, right? And technology can be wonderful when we use it in the right ways.
Yeah.
But if we are taking ourselves away from everything else and we are constantly only dealing with technology, I think sometimes we miss just how much that's negatively impacting us, right? If you're, because you think about it, everybody's talked about this in the past, but it's true. You get on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever, you see everyone's best version of themselves. Yeah. You see their perfect life from the outside, which is nothing more than the portrait that they have painted for you to see.
That's right.
You
Absolutely.
don't know all their junk.
Yeah. A lot of those villas are Airbnbs, and a lot of those Lamborghinis are rented for the day, right? Yeah. We know those people. But what I'm saying is this: what if you were to impose upon yourself as part of your self-esteem regime to do something different tomorrow than you did today? Maybe that means putting down the phone for an hour and really just going for a walk. It's a little step, it's a little move, and it's going to feel weird, and it's going to feel awkward, and Do it. Just start doing that. And then maybe the next day it's 2 hours. And maybe the next day it's, I don't know what. I mean, but I'm just saying, if you were able to start implementing different ways of doing things, different ways of being you, things that maybe eat peanut butter and jelly every day. How about a ham and cheese tomorrow? I'm just making it up, but just to change things up, to see what's out there, what's different. I've been lucky enough to be able to travel the world, to learn different cultures, learn different languages. The travel was a pain in the butt. I had to get on the plane. I got to stand in line. I got a wrong ticket. I missed the bus. I missed the train. It's a pain. But once you get there, right, the work that you will do, is so worth the end result. And that's the same when you read my book or any other personal health book. I really, really, really invite you to do that.
Yeah, it's one of those things, I think, where people, they think like, oh, I have to, be on social media or whatever. Here's the thing. If you can't put your phone down, because for some people that just might be too much of an ask, right?
Yeah.
Maybe just shift, right? So you've got your phone with you, but instead of using it to be on social media, play an audiobook, play a podcast, right? Like use that opportunity to learn actually something. Grow.
Yeah.
I had a guy on a couple weeks ago, and he was really smart growing up. Like, I think he said like top 2% IQ or something like crazy like that. And despite that, he was always getting in trouble in school. He was a troublemaker, and he ended up getting kicked out of school. And for a lot of people, they would look at that and say, oh, like, what a waste of talent. What a waste of, life, And he ultimately ended up with this job where he had to be in the car for hours per day. And he was listening to, it started as like sales and management type books, but some of the authors that he came across also did like motivational stuff. And so, of course, he got introduced to some of their motivational stuff, started listening to that, and it just completely turned his life around. Yeah. So this is somebody that by anyone else's standards, again, going back to what other people think we should do, they would have said, oh, you've thrown your life away, you've ruined it, you failed, whatever,
Absolutely.
But he hadn't.
I get it. And so, again, as I said, we're all on our own path. Everybody's got their own, their own thing to do, and everybody's going to be learning in a different way. But, again, self-esteem is something that is not to be poo-pooed. It's not to be brushed under the carpet. It should be one of the very first things that you're working on yourself. You're working on your life. You're working on your relationships. You're working on relationships all around. As I said, from family straight through to your working relationships, the person you decide you're going to spend the rest of your life with. Should be right. Make sure that they're on board with this whole thing too. In other words, if they're doing the same work, that they are willing to do the same work that you're willing to do, and that they're walking the walk and talking the talk, and they're not just it's not just lip service. And then you walk down the aisle and they, start. I was listening to something that's very similar to what Lewis House said today. And that is, you really need to be going to couples therapy long before you're thinking about walking down the aisle. Because whatever needs to be tweaked, whatever needs to be fixed, whatever needs to be adjusted, whatever needs to be brought up, needs to be done then, not after you bought, the house and the kids on the way.
Yeah.
It's way too late then.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's funny you bring that up, because I think we tend to do that with a lot of areas, right? We wait until things are completely broken before we try to address them. And it's like so much of this stuff, if you're proactive in your growth, they take care of themselves and they never become problematic.
Yeah, exactly. So there you go.
Yeah. It's one thing I wanted to kind of point out here too, is I think a lot of people, when it comes to self-esteem, they think to themselves, if only insert whatever, then I would have more self-esteem, right? Which kind of, when you actually think about it, sounds very contradictory to what self-esteem should be. But that's what people do. They say, oh, if I had the bigger house, if I had the better job, if I looked a certain way, right? Yeah. You've talked about earlier that you worked with all these beautiful models. And I know from when we did our pre-interview that, self-confidence was a very big issue, despite the fact that they constantly had people telling them how beautiful they were.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And to your point, I think that it's really more important that your self-esteem is intact. You have worked on it, that you are at a good place. By the way, you never take a self-esteem test, right? And you get 100 and you're good.
Right.
It's not like that kind of thing. Life is life, right? So, and as I said before, it's going to throw some things at you that are going to destabilize you. Again, I just had a really tough last 6, 7, 8 months, but I got through every one of them, and I took really good care of myself while I was allowing myself to take the time to grieve through the pain, to get angry, to process all of the different emotions that are going to come up, because we're humans, we're having emotions, and we've got to learn how to process this stuff that's going to come up. If you keep pushing it down, or if you just keep being angry, that's not going to get you anywhere. You have to deal with it. You've got to deal with it. And in time, it doesn't happen overnight. You've got to deal with it. You don't again, it doesn't get swept under a carpet, and you don't work on it at all. So you absolutely have to put the cart before the horse. And that is, you have to be able to have your happy, healthy self-esteem, live in happy, self-esteem. And then, you attract the house, the car, the mate, all of the rest of that. It doesn't work the other way around. You don't buy the car and get the trophy wife and all of that, and then work on your self-esteem. It doesn't work that way. It's something along the line just isn't going to feel in integrity.
Yeah. It's very similar to, I always, have clients come to me and they talk about, if I just had more motivation, if I just had more willpower. And I'm like, action. Start taking action, even if it's something small. That's how you build motivation. You don't get motivation, then take action. You build motivation, right?
And I get it.
Taking action.
I get it. It's not always easy, and I'm known to procrastinate as well. But when I'm so gassed up now about what's happening in my life, where I'm going, and more than anything, I think is how I'm serving, which is a really cool place to be. Because I don't hold this all in for myself, this self-esteem thing. I'll talk to anybody about it. And I think along the way, I've helped many people in my own way, and, and our friends and family, I had an assistant, I had a secretary, all these women in my life, that were, in need of something. And I was, able to be there for them in some way, shape, or form. The idea that I also, I collaborate with, domesticshelters.org when I can, and that helps, abused women and children. So your why, and the why is, I don't want women living in this kind of pain. And I want to give them the absolute, the blueprint, the direction, and the fortitude to know that no matter how bad they think it is, it can be, great. Do the work. It can be, life can be an amazing place to be. You're just where you are because that's all you know right now. But once I give you the tools, or anyone else gives you the tools to be able to get yourself out of there, know that there's a way that you can support yourself and the children and maybe the dog and the cat, whatever, that is, I just love giving women the sense of sisterhood that I've created, especially with my mastermind, and the blueprint to, you can absolutely do anything. Now, look, I can't do anything, Stephen. NASA's not going to call me tomorrow and fly me to the moon in 6 months. It's not going to happen. Probably I'd have to go through really rigorous training, and I wouldn't want to anyway, but I'm just saying, you can do almost anything. I say, I can do it. You do anything. Well, okay. Well, yes, you can, but what do you want to, what do you want to do? What's the most important thing for you?
Yeah, it's very interesting to me, because I always hear people talk about goal setting, and they always reference SMART goals, which I will tell you, I actually hate the SMART acronym. I absolutely hate it, because one of the things that everybody always talks about is, you have to set realistic goals. Well, here's a newsflash. most of us do not suffer from being too over the top with our goal setting, right? We're not
Right.
we're not going out there and setting big audacious goals that are just too unrealistic. If anything, most of us are actually shrinking ourselves. And
Yes.
then we use that as an excuse. And
Yep.
we use that things like the SMART goals to go, well, I'm just trying to be realistic. But
Right.
the reality is we're not even coming close to our potential, let alone risking
Well, it sounds like
exceeding it.
that sounds like they went down the fear path.
Yeah.
They went down the fear path.
And again, it
And
goes
that
back to
is,
what we talked about earlier, right?
that's the self-talk. See, those are what I call the daily demons. Don't know if I can. Who do I think I am? I'm going to get laughed at. I could never. When I was a kid, I was like, I could never be a model. I could never be a model. I'm not this enough. I'm not that enough. I'm not that, the other thing enough.
Yeah.
And then I tried it. And guess what? I mean, you never know until you try. And if you fail, it was your first attempt in learning.
Yeah. So I'm curious because you said that, your mom, had this kind of belief system. Her mom had the same belief system. So what was it for you that helped you to break the cycle?
It's a really great question. What was it for me that helped me break the cycle? I think it was just the burning desire. Oh my gosh. I mean, I wanted it more than life itself. I wanted to be a model. I wanted to live in New York City. I was living in New Jersey at the time, so not too far away. But I did what it took, Stephen. I took a job as a young girl. I was 19 years old. I took a job as an administrative assistant. And I was still living in Jersey. I got up every morning at 5 o'clock. I did my hair, my makeup. I got on I got down to the train, got on the train, took me into the path, which was, the World Trade Center at the time. So got off the path, got on the train, took me up to 34th Street. Then I had to run down to 22nd Street. 23rd Street. I did that every day for a year, going and coming back. I no sooner got back to Jersey, I fell into bed and I got up the next morning and did it all over again. Because nothing had for me a calling like that city did. And then, of course, for me, I just wanted a model. I don't know why. I don't know where. I was Mary Poppins in the kindergarten play. I love stages. I love microphones. And that's just how I was born. So the next thing you know, I said, okay, model. I wanted to model. I was tall and skinny and that's just what I wanted to do. And I put everything in place. And again, here I'm going into probably the one of the industries where you get rejected the most. Yeah. There's no business like being a model or an actress where you will get the rejection you know that we get. Yeah. So right away had to learn that it wasn't about me. It wasn't about me being too, and you're always too something. You were too tall, you were too short, you were too fat, you were too thin, you were too blonde, you were too dark, you were too. And, and what it was really is that you just were not what they were looking for at the time. Should they even have known at the time what they were looking for? Because sometimes they don't even know. Yeah. So when you realize that, then you don't, you learn not to take things personally. End of story. So I think that answer to your question, it was the burning desire to be what I wanted to be when I knew at 5 years old that as I was watching the movies on Saturday morning, which had Rita Hayworth and Ava Gardner, some of the most beautiful women in the world, I wanted to be them. Yeah. And funnily enough, I have a picture. They did a super of me years ago, but a superimposed picture of me next to Ava Gardner. And then I actually on television in Italy sang Amato Mio, which was a song that was sung by Rita Hayworth in, I think it was Mambo. I forget exactly, or maybe it was Gilda. I don't remember. But with the exact hair, exact makeup, and the exact dress. It's on YouTube. You should find it there. But you will see me actually singing and dancing as Rita Hayworth. So talk about the power of intention. Yeah. Even as a young child, I was, I've got two vision boards. One is spiritual and the other one is this life. And I remember years ago, I put up there, Oprah. I wanted to be on Oprah. Somehow I had to be on Oprah. Well, I didn't make it to the Oprah show, but I did make it on Oprah and Friends on the radio, which was really cool. And I have a million of these examples of get clear about what you want. Get these kind of books, know that you can, and then just do the work, do the manifesting, do the vision boards. There are also video vision boards, what's the name of the company that friends of mine, I can't remember it off the top of my head, mindmovies.com. And you can create your own vision board with your own words and your own pictures. And you watch your life unfold in front of your eyes. And the next thing you know, boom. Now, I'm not going to say 100% of everything you try to manifest or you want to manifest, but just do the work. Get off your tushy and do it. Life doesn't, life tomorrow's not guaranteed, Stephen. Do it. Just get off your butt and do it.
Yeah, I think when you look at self-esteem, one thing that I see a lot of people kind of make a mistake on is they tie everything, all their value, everything to the outcome. And you don't have much control over it, right? It's like you can't ultimately force an outcome. But what you can do is you can completely decide your behaviors and your attitude and the steps that you're going to take along the way.
Right. Yeah. So it's all doable. I think the message for the show today is, it definitely is doable. If you're holding yourself back, I'm sorry, but that's on you. Let's get yourself out of that mindset. You hear about mindset all the time. You can and you should and you will change when you want to, when you're ready. And I would say get ready, do it, because, time is a ticking. And life is a fabulous, it's a phenomenal place to be when you're in the right place with your mindset.
So before we get ready to wrap up, tell me a little bit about the book. So for anybody out there that's thinking should I get the book? How's this actually going to help them?
It's in Barnes and Noble. Go to the Barnes and Noble store. It's in there. Or you can go to Amazon. You can find it there. It's also on Kindle and Audible. So you can listen to me for 4 hours or whatever it takes. It took me a week to do that audio, but up in Las Vegas, I had to go all the way up to Las Vegas from here in Phoenix to go to the studio, and I was there a week. It was so much fun. But there's no reason you can find the book everywhere, and there's so many great books as well. I mean, don't read just mine. Read mine, but read many others as well. Just do the work. And Think and Grow Rich. You said it. I mean, that book is probably the most sold book after the Bible. It's the most sold book, and it's translated into every major, all the languages in the world.
Yeah. Reading is such a huge thing. I mean, I know for me, so much of what I learned actually came from the E-Myth, because I learned so much about systems and things in that book that I've been able to apply. And I started to understand that most things that we do in life are processes. They're just systems. All you have to do, and this goes back to what you were saying about the whole failure thing, is you try stuff. If it fails, you just learned. Okay, that didn't work. Go back to the drawing board. And you keep tweaking your system until you get it to work. And then now the tweaks become smaller, right? They're just little small increments after that. But once you have a system perfected, all you have to do is just keep applying it. And it works.
Absolutely.
And that's what I kind of liked about your book.
Stephen.
Thank you. That's what I liked about your book too, because I mean, your book is basically a system, right? It's somebody walks through, they do the exercises. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter if they have a little bit of growth or a lot of growth the first time through.
Sure.
They can come back through, they can repeat the system, and they're going to grow more. And they can just keep repeating it over and over and over again. Right. And if they get to the point that the book's not helping them grow, they can go join your mastermind.
You got that right too.
Yeah. So if there was one book outside of yours, obviously, because we went to read that.
I always say Think and Grow Rich. I go right to Think and Grow Rich. Absolutely. The unconscious mind. Or subconscious. The subconscious. Subconscious mind. Thank you.
Subconscious mind.
Yeah, or maybe some of us are unconscious sometimes, but we should. They're a little unconscious, but the subconscious mind. Thanks for that. Yeah. I love that book as well. All these kinds of books. I mean, they're all uplifting. They all and they all help. They are of grand help. They are the number one support system, I would say, are these books. And then you create your own with people. It's just it's a win-win situation.
Yeah. Could you maybe give us an example, something from your book? Because I know you have several exercises in there.
Yeah.
One exercise, can you just kind of walk us through an example of what it might look like for somebody?
Right. I love the affirmations. Okay, so the book is created with all kind. Every chapter has a case study. Every chapter starts with a word. So the first chapter is release, for example. We all know that there are things we've learned. We have to unlearn. We have to release, especially a lot of the things that were taught to us by the native tribe. Right. So releasing is a big one. We have in here. We have the Clarissa's Corner. We have the Clarion Call. There are affirmations and all kinds of reviews and homework and all kinds of things. But here's an affirmation that I absolutely love. It's called, I will become my best self. I will become the person I was always meant to be. I will not settle for less than I deserve. Now think about that. If you really, if you implement, I will not settle for anything less than what I deserve. Just that in and of itself is so powerful.
Yeah.
But we have to get you to a point where you believe you deserve only the best, and that you will not settle for second best, and that you will not settle for a toxic relationship, and that you will not settle for someone that lies to you. You will not settle for someone that cheats on you. You will not settle for someone stealing from you. I mean, these are the kinds of places you need to be. It's not okay to be treated that way. Again, you teach everyone. So here we go. I know that I deserve only the best for myself. And if you say that, keep saying that. I know, say that 100 times a day. See what happens.
Right.
I am not what others think of me. I love that because I've heard that my whole life. Oh, she's such a pain in the butt. Oh, she's so difficult. She's so no. I create my boundaries. I'm pleasant. I'm thankful, I'm grateful, I smile, I'm kind. But when you cross the boundary, I'm not going to chop your head off, but I'm going to probably be a little firmer in the way I say things if I've had to say it a couple of different times. Like, could you stop, I don't know, stepping all over my feet? I don't know, whatever. If you keep treading on my feet, I'm probably going to say, damn, that hurts. Stop doing that for the 100th time. I was created for greatness and to inspire others. See, again, when we take the focus off of ourselves a lot of times and put it onto others, not all the time, of course, but, a good 50-50, it kind of feels good to be living in that place. Geez, what can I do for somebody else? I'm going to make them feel better. Please, ma'am, go ahead. I have a full cart. You only have a few things. Please, I insist. I did that the other day to somebody and they looked at me like, really? And they really went like, are you kidding me? No, go right ahead. I'm happy to,
they're looking around for the crank camera. They're like, where?
I'm excited about who I'm becoming as I map out my future. It is okay to say yes to getting up, moving on, and never looking back. Get up, move on, and never look back. Just go. Because you're not going to change it. If you beat your head up against the wall a million times and the relationship didn't change and he didn't change or she didn't change or it didn't change and you knew it was unhealthy, move on. And then the last in the series is I will do whatever is necessary to complete my reinvention and conquer the world. Reinvention. There's another word. I just think that this book, I mean, if you were to read that affirmation and then go to sleep and then lay the book down and close your eyes and off you go, that's what you've got, running around your brain all night long. These are the and the greatest part of all of that is when you can find them also subliminally. It's magic. It's magic when you're listening to these things as you're in the theta or delta or whatever. It really will help to change the trajectory. It changes all these subconscious thoughts.
Because so much of what holds us back, we think it's external things, but it's in here. It's that mental block that really keeps us stuck a lot of times.
Absolutely.
I had a friend of mine that pointed out to me that human beings are the only species on the entire planet Earth that intentionally limit our growth. Trees don't stop growing. They don't stop getting taller.
Right.
Lions don't slowly chase their prey one day, right? They full out every time. Humans are the only species that intentionally limits ourselves.
Exactly.
The only one.
I know. Well, there you go. I hope that your listeners have gotten something out of this today, and that they're inspired to, get up, move on, and never look back, or to actually, make that dream happen. Get really clear about what it is, and know that they can. Everybody's, has the right to. It's a God-given right to be able to live your dreams. Let's do. I mean, we're lucky enough to live in countries in a country. Let's not get into politics. I don't care, but
yeah.
Let's not do that. But we're really lucky enough to live in a country that, we do live free. Let's just leave it at that for the moment. That's what the United States has been based on for the last 200 and some years. So a lot of countries do not have that luxury. So let's make the best of it. We're lucky enough to be living here. Let's make the best of it. And many other countries, not just ours, but you and I happen to live here. So we live in a free country, and that's a great place to be.
Yeah, it's one thing that you bring up with that, and I think is really kind of a great maybe tie-up point for people here is we so often worry about external things in two ways, right? Number one is we worry about what people are going to think about us, which we've already covered, but a lot of us also spend a lot of energy worrying about what other people are doing. And right now we see this with politics all the time, right? Regardless of what side of the political fence somebody sits on, it's, the other side's idiots and da-da-da-da. It's like, but what about you? What are you doing to grow yourself? What are you doing to focus on you? Stop worrying about everybody else. Focus on you. Focus on your impact in the world. That's what matters. Because you can't make other people do anything.
I would say you're absolutely right. So go out and knock it out of the ballpark today. Why don't you do that?
Yeah.
And then get back to Stephen and I, because we want to know.
Yeah, come back, comment, let us know.
To Stephen and me. Get back to Stephen and me, because we want to know. So there you go.
Absolutely.
Good talking to you tonight.
So I will include in the show notes a link to your book on Amazon. That way everyone will have a direct link to it. But if you could let everyone know any other ways that they can get connected with you.
All social media except Snapchat. Just Clarissa Burt. You find me anywhere.
All right. Awesome. Well, I appreciate you coming on today, Clarissa. I really do think that you added a lot of value today. You really brought a lot of different things for people to kind of think about, and maybe even too much, right? We maybe gave people too much today. They might need to listen to this episode 3, 4, 5 times.
That's okay. That's okay. Yeah. Let's keep them motivated. Let's keep them inspired and motivated.
So put this on your phone when you go on that walk. Put your headphones in. Just listen to this on repeat a couple times. Make sure you get all those wonderful gems that got dropped today. And
Thanks.
We will see everybody back next week. This is Stephen Box reminding you that none of us are born unshakable, but we all can choose to become unshakable.